Hey, welcome to our very first conversation here at Tia's Table. I'm so excited to be trying something new. Hopefully we can call it a podcast, I guess. I mean, that's the official word for it, but for me, it's more of like an intimate conversation between me and the ladies that I've had the pleasure of being able to work with, or the subscribers to my newsletter, or anybody that I've been able to interact with online. So hopefully these conversations will be fun, light, funny, helpful, motivating, and all of the positive vibes that I know everyone needs. So let's just do a quick rundown of what we can expect on these podcast episodes, right? We will always start off talking about food. So we'll talk about food. We'll have a main topic that we discuss that kind of builds off of the newsletter or something that we've been talking about in my DMs on Instagram. We'll talk about fitness and working out, things that are popular, things I've tried, things that I think you should try or possibly girls stay away from. And then we'll close out with something fun that I used to do when I was a mommy blogger many moons ago, which is share random thoughts that I'm sure most people can either relate to or possibly agree with or maybe disagree with. But I think that's a fun way to kind of close up an episode. So let's get right into what is on my table this month. Right now, what I'm eating as we move into fall is soup. Everyone knows, if you follow me on Instagram, I am a big soup lover. I think soup is a very easy way to get lots of healthy things into your body very quickly. They are one-pot meals, so they don't require a lot of work, and they taste really good, and you can freeze them. So you can always make some and then have some stored away for later. My soup of choice, the one that I'll be eating first this fall season, is my famous cauliflower soup. Now, I know people are like, you're going to cauliflower soup us to death, but I felt it was only right to choose that as the very first meal of our podcast to discuss, because it is the one that people talk to me about the most. And I can kind of talk you through some of the things that I think might be going wrong with your cauliflower soups at home. So first of all, the cauliflower soup is super easy. All you need is basically cauliflower, chicken broth. I use Creole seasoning for mine because I like a little spice, onions and garlic, and you're basically good to go, right? So you don't need that many things to make it. It literally will cook itself once you get it all into the pot. Super fast, super easy. The cauliflower soup is my favorite because you can eat it so many different ways. My personal favorite is eating it topped with andouille sausage. That takes the spice level up just a little bit. It gives you that little bit of a runny nose when you know something is good and you know it's spicy. I love that. You can also eat it topped with roasted veggies. You can top it with shrimp. I've used cauliflower soup as like a substitute for grits in many ways. So I've served it alongside of fried fish for my family. And I have also used it as grits in the morning, and I top it with bacon and eggs. So if you're from the country like me, if you grew up in the Carolinas, you know we like to make a grits bowl where you put your grits in your bowl and then you top it with everything else that was made for breakfast that morning. Maybe not pancakes and waffles, but literally sausage, bacon, cheese, eggs, hash browns, like whatever else you have for breakfast. You just put it all in that one bowl on top of grits, and it is delicious. So I love that you can do so many different things with that one pot of soup. You can freeze it. It freezes very well. I did that over the summer for some quick, easy lunches while my kids were home. And that worked out like great. It kept its flavor. It wasn't runny. But I do want to give a couple tips about the cauliflower soup, because I think some people are going left when they maybe should have gone right with the soup. So tip number one, you got to watch that broth to cauliflower ratio, right? I use 2 cauliflower heads when I make the soup, and I use a quart or 1 box of chicken broth. Now, if you are new to cooking, you want to make sure your broth kind of meets the cauliflower in the pot. So like they're all on one nice little even layer. You don't necessarily want your cauliflower swimming in broth, like they're floating and it's lots of space in there. You kind of want to make sure that the broth to cauliflower ratio is even. This is important because when you go to blend it, if you have way too much broth in your pot, you're gonna have runny soup. And that's what I get messaged about the most. Like, oh, my soup came out runny, or my soup wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And I think it's because people are using way too much broth or maybe not enough cauliflower. That balance kind of has to be there. Once you blend your soup, or in the blending process, if you feel like you may have used too much broth or not enough cauliflower, you can always pulse your soup so that you can kind of watch the blend on it. And you can control how runny it may get. But, that's just one of those things where if you kind of use too much, girl, you're just going to have to eat that pot of soup. And when you make the next one, you'll know to adjust what you may not have gotten all the way right on the first one. But just keep playing with it. And I'm pretty sure that's where people are getting a texture that they did not desire. They didn't see that runny soup coming, but then boom, there it was in their bowl. I personally like more of a creamy cauliflower soup. I like seeing the chunks of cauliflower in it. So I use a lot of cauliflower. I only use a box of the broth. And when I blend, I use a hand immersion blender. I think that's what it's called. The blender you bring to the pot and you just blend right there in the pot. I use one of those, and that allows me to really see how much I'm blending and leaving chunky. So hopefully that helps. Now, if you're going to freeze your soup, just remember to always bring it to room temp before you fill it into the little cubes. I like using the super cubes that I found on Amazon. I can post a link to that somewhere if people are going to find that helpful. But they make the perfect portion for soup. I think the trays that I have are 1 cup portions, and they are ideal for lunch or quick, easy dinners. If maybe your family is going to eat something else, or if you just don't feel like cooking, everybody gets a cube and it makes truly the perfect size bowl of soup. So get into that cauliflower soup. That is the recipe that you are finding in your email along with this episode. So if you haven't tried it yet, give it a try. If you tried it before and it did not come out quite the way you were expecting, girl, try it again. Because what we do know about cooking is that practice may not always lead to perfect, but it sure will lead to some progress. So progress over perfection all the time. Let's keep trying and we'll get that right eventually. So in the newsletter this month, we talked about burnout and how to kind of overcome burnout and what it means. So I just want to kind of have a conversation about that and what led me to write about that for this month's newsletter. So for me, I think I'm one of those people who will go until I hit a wall, which is not healthy. Like no one should be doing that. And I always tell my friends like that think I'm doing all these amazing things. I'm like, no, girl, I'm just crazy. Like, but so don't be like me. Don't be like me because I don't know when to say no and like turn things off. And that, in my opinion, is what leads to burnout. I think burnout comes from a place of not saying no enough and feeling like you have to do all the things in a certain way by a certain time. And really like, no, we don't have to be doing anything on anybody else's time. I mean, I guess other than work, if you have deadlines for work, then sure, yeah, do that stuff on time. But literally, I think everything else that women make such a huge priority that ends up just overwhelming us, thus leading to burnout, are things that I'm learning that I can just say no or not right now, right? I talk to people a lot, either in my DMs or in real life about how tough it is to like clean up, make sure your kids are doing everything they're supposed to do, cook healthy meals, like do all these things. And recently I decided for myself that instead of holding myself to these ideas that like, oh my gosh, you know, the sink can't ever have dishes in it, or oh my gosh, I gotta stay, which now I do have to stay on top of laundry. I was about to say I gotta keep these laundry baskets low, but honestly, that is something that I recently developed a strategy for that is working for me. But I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta stay on top of laundry, because if I don't, it'll be overflowing and a mess. Gotta keep this house clean, gotta make sure all the kids are doing everything they're supposed to do. And I found that telling myself, well, girl, you don't have to do that right now, has certainly helped me out a lot. For example, typically after we eat dinner or have a meal, I would find myself cleaning up like crazy and never really having any true downtime. Like I would literally be balls to the walls from the moment I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock at night, doing something, whether that was working or cleaning up, cooking, running errands, helping kids with homework, like just whatever. It's just nonstop movement all day long. And I ended up telling myself one day, you know what? You don't like, who's coming over here? Number one, no one is. You don't have to have a showroom ready kitchen 24/7. Like, who cares about that? A part of me cares. Like, I always joke with myself that there are two Tias. It's like the Tia that's normal and she understands none of this really matters. And then there's the other Tia who's a little like crazy. She likes to shop online. She likes to do all the things she's not supposed to do, eat crazy. But she's the one that's like, oh, yeah, girl, you do need to clean that kitchen right now. Or you do need to stay on top of this. Like, no, girl, we can't sit down. I also believe that that's low-key my anxiety talking to me. And while I'm no one's doctor and no one's therapist, I know that that's where that comes from, right? Just telling myself, you have to do all these things. And really, no, I don't. Outside of working and taking care of my kids, the rest of this stuff, literally, I could kind of fall back on it. Yeah, it might get to a place where now I got to catch up on it, but at least I did get to get some rest in the meantime. So I personally feel like burnout comes from just holding ourselves to these ridiculous standards that at the end of the day really doesn't mean anything. People always say, oh, well, when I die, such and such won't be on my tombstone. And I'm like, yeah, when I'm gone from this earth, my tombstone is not going to say, great mom, kitchen was always clean. No, probably it's just going to say the great mom part. We're not, no one's going to give me credit for any of this other stuff that I feel like is important to them, or I feel like is important to me for whatever reason. And it really just shouldn't be. I should be focusing my attention on things that bring me more joy, that are more relaxing. I saw a meme on Instagram the other day that said something about people's kids saying they want their children to describe them as like happy and chill. And I'm like, yeah, I want my kids to describe me as like a happy, chill woman. I don't want them to describe me as a woman who never sat down. Like, my mom was always doing something. Yeah, I don't want that to be their description of me. So I have decided to slow my life all the way down so that I could kind of focus on doing other things and avoid the burnout that comes from feeling like I got to do it all, because literally no one is doing that. And it was driving me crazy. Burnout impacts us in a lot of different ways. So personally, for me, when I feel burnout, I feel extremely tired. My mood is not the same. I don't find as much joy in even thinking about doing other things. And I find that is because I'm truly exhausted and I just need to rest. I feel like burnout also teaches us lessons, right? So typically, when I find myself burnout, I can normally trace it all the way back to what made me that way. I'll say to myself, like, I was doing fine, or I was managing everything, and then boom, all of a sudden I said yes to something that I had no business saying yes to. And I knew that when I said yes, But doing that when I know I wasn't supposed to be, or I shouldn't have been, exhausted me on a level that now has me at a place where I just kind of need to shut everything down and give myself a couple days to just regroup and recharge. I found that when I don't listen to my gut instinct, when my gut instinct says, girl, we ain't got no business doing that, but I do it anyway, those situations literally drain me. And I'm learning that the closer that I get to 40, that I can start saying no, or not right now, or I'm not doing that, and nothing happens. Like the world doesn't fall apart. People don't hate my guts. All of the things that I think I would tell myself as to why I always say yes. I'm learning now that, oh girl, that's all in your head. That really doesn't happen. When you put yourself first and you say, I can't do that right now, or no, I'm choosing to stay home, or whatever, like the world does not crumble around you. People are all of a sudden not extremely disappointed in you or anything crazy like that. So it's okay to say no so that you can kind of rest and recharge without being forced into it. So my tips for burnout, how to work past it and through it is, number one, take it all the way back to the basics. When I'm burnt out, I sit down and I tell myself, okay, we're not doing anything that we don't have to. So we have to eat. We have to get really good sleep. We have to do self-care. We have to work out, and we got to take care of these kids, right? Outside of doing those things, I say no to everything else until I start to feel better again. That strategy tends to work for me. Other things that I do when I'm starting to feel burnt out is I make sure I stay properly hydrated, because when you're not hydrated and when you're kind of just laying down all the time or sitting down all the time and not thinking about drinking water, that will also make you feel slightly sluggish. So I make sure I stay properly hydrated. I really make sure that when I'm feeling burnt out, that I am not watching anyone's news. Listening to the news all day is, I think, something that people do, especially if you work from home. You find yourself playing the news in the background, and I'm not even watching it. I'm just listening to the madness and the chaos and the disruption of the world, and that's bringing my vibe down. Or it's like I'm wearing that mess like in my subconscious all day. So I stopped watching the news. I also stop answering the phone if I feel like I'm about to get sucked into someone else's moment that is not necessarily positive, which, I think is great that you can be the friend that people call to vent to, or people call to get your opinion on, or whatever. But I find that a lot of times when people call me to kind of like dump their mess on me, we get off the phone and I'm sure that person goes back to being pretty fine. Like they go on about their day, not even thinking about our conversation. They move on and they move past it. Whereas now I'm sitting here literally feeling like I got to take a shower, because I'm like, man, so-and-so just dumped all that stuff on me. And now, again, that has killed my mood and my vibe for the day. Now I got to reset. So I find that limiting phone calls during the day too, truly helps me not get burnt out. I'm also a person that gets overstimulated very, very easily. So for some reason, I also feel like during the day, it's just good to not talk on the phone. Because sometimes it can just be too much of that anyway. Another reason or another tip that I have for getting past burnout is to not project your burnout onto other people. So this might be a little touchy for some, but I'm going to share it. So a lot of times when I'm on social media, I notice that there has become, I don't know if you want to call it a trend or just, I don't know, like the new wave of things. But I notice now in specifically the mommy community that there tends to be let's just call it a trend of sharing your overwhelmness. If overwhelmness is a word. But yeah, people get on their stories and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And I feel like listening to that makes you to say, yeah, girl, I'm overwhelmed. Now you could have been having a great day. You could have been feeling great. You could have been full of all the B12, the vitamin C. You got all the energy in the world. Like you were having a fantastic day. You will be watching someone's Instagram story where she is saying, I'm so overwhelmed. I have all these things to do. I got this, and this, and this. And then suddenly you feel like, yeah, like girl, me too. And you go from having all the energy in the world to now feeling like you don't. And so whenever, I don't know if y'all can hear Cookie, he just shook his collar. I don't know if people realize that, but when they are projecting that kind of feeling like out into the internet and the rest of us are watching it, that really affects people. So I try to also limit how much of that I take in. Because I feel like that is just not helpful. It's not conducive to the vibe I'm trying to create for myself. And I think that when you are a person who is easily influenced by other people's energies, it's important to kind of limit that kind of talk around you. So for me, I don't like to project my feelings of being burnout onto other people. You very rarely will see me online saying like, ooh, girl, like I'm so this, I'm so that. Mainly because for one reason, a lot of what overwhelms us are the very things that we have asked for, right? Like I asked for these children. I asked for a business. I asked for, a beautiful home. I asked for all these things. And to me, like mentally, I'm like, girl, is it not counterproductive to then complain or feel overwhelmed about the very things you asked for, which I'm not limiting or minimizing my own experience or anybody else's, because if you're tired, you should feel okay saying you're tired. But also I'm like, just putting that out into the universe all the time, I think contributes to the actual feeling of burnout. So I feel like it's very important to watch the words that you say, because what you speak about actually happens. I'm a firm believer of that. The things that I say are typically right in line with what ends up happening in my life. So I try not to project the feeling of being burnt out onto other people, and I definitely limit the amount of that kind of talk I allow into my space. So hopefully those tips are helpful. I'm not gonna sit here and say like, make sure you're getting those workouts in, girl. But I do feel like exercise does help keep your energy level up, which will avoid burnout. But for the most part, those tips are my personal ways of getting through that feeling of I'm over it. So hopefully you find those helpful. Another thing we talked about in the newsletter this month was waist trainers, waist trimmers, people getting surgery, and how in the world is it possible for almost everyone you see now to have a perfect hourglass figure? Like, where did it come from? It's all of a sudden, like I said in the newsletter, DNA, where art thou? Because I know I don't, and I never have had an hourglass figure. She's always been cute, but she ain't ever had no hourglass figure. And I feel like that's the case for most people. People have always been, like beautiful with amazing bodies, but for some reason, all of a sudden, that hourglass shape has literally taken off suddenly and kind of out of nowhere. Now, I personally believe that the reality TV rise made that shape popular. People started seeing people on reality TV, what they believed to be people living their real lives. That look became attractive. And now everywhere you go, everybody has got a beat face, a lace front, and an hourglass shape. And this is not me hating on the girls, because I think it's great. If you're young and you got the time, why not? Go for it, girl. But for some of us that are, above 35, close to 40, or in our 40s, we're just trying to figure out how is it that everyone all of a sudden looks like they have a full glam squad every morning when they wake up, and where exactly did those tiny little, what looks like 22-inch waists come from all of a sudden? So people normally say that they use waist trainers and waist trimmers to achieve this look, along with diet and exercise, of course. You'll see people working out in their waist trainers and trimmers, talking about them, showing you all the sweat that comes from them when they're done exercising. And so I do want to talk about that just very quickly, the difference between a trainer and a trimmer. So a waist trainer is like the corset style thing that zips up. And then for a lot of them now, they also Velcro around your waist. People wear them for hours and hours and hours. I'm doing a cute little research project myself this month on the waist trainer, seeing if it really works along with my diet and exercise. And then there are waist trimmers. Waist trimmers are going to be the belts that you wear when you're working out. You put that cream on your belly and your back. I literally try to lather myself all over it with it. I wrap myself in that belt and then I work out. In my opinion and in my experience, waist trimmers do allow me to sweat more. I do burn more calories when I'm wearing my waist trimmer during a workout. And I definitely do just have tons more sweat. I start sweating sooner. All of the claims that they make about those things, I experience them myself when I'm wearing my waist trimmer. Now, that waist trainer, on the other hand, and I know I shared this on Instagram, but I bought the Joy in Life waist trimmer. Her body is amazing. So I was like, oh, I'll try hers and see how it goes. When you first put on that waist trainer, it's not a big deal. You feel somewhat constricted, but for the most part, you're good. After a few hours, you start to feel like you cannot even breathe. So the thought of either even eating or drinking while you're wearing that thing is beyond me. Like, I don't know how people are wearing it for 8 hours a day. I don't know how they're sleeping in it. I don't know, because the most I've ever been able to wear mine is about 4 hours. Now, when you have the waist trainer on, you are snatched. You are pulled together. You are tiny. You do have an hourglass figure. But the thing about all of that for me, and I don't know, maybe I'm not young enough. Maybe my body doesn't have the muscle memory. Maybe it's worn out from having all these children. I don't know. But for me, when I take the waist trainer off, I can see an imprint of the trainer like in my skin. So I know it was holding me in and it was tight. But I don't really notice that much of a difference in my body when I'm not wearing it. And I hate to even say that. Now, when I started wearing it over the summer and I was being pretty consistent about it, there did come a point where I could look at myself in the mirror and I could kind of see a small indentation of my waist. But again, it wasn't anything that was so extreme that I felt like, ooh, that waist trainer is working. Even though my core seemed tight, it never measured any differently. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that my overall appearance may have looked better. My overall appearance may have started to take somewhat of an hourglass shape, but my actual measurements never moved. So basically my waist was not smaller. It just wasn't. So I said I would try it again this month, eating well, wearing the waist trainer every day and working out. And we'll see what my results are in October, but like, I'm not convinced. I'm pretty sure I feel really confident in saying, and I think I have to preface this with allegedly, I think these girls are just out here getting surgery, which is fine, right? To each her own. I don't think there's anything wrong with getting surgery if you know that's what you want and you feel like that's the only way to get what you want, and you have a great doctor, you're medically cleared for it. I think it's totally fine. So this is not like an anti-surgery thing. I'm not an anti-surgery girl for y'all. I'm an anti-surgery girl for myself, only because that's just not the way I want to go out. You know, I don't want to go out trying to get a BBL. Well, first of all, I don't need a BBL, but that's not the way I would go out. If I ever got any surgery done, it would probably be a boob job. That's just because I've breastfed 3 children and yeah, but even then, I feel like surgery is something you should only do when you know you really, really want it, or something about your body stresses you out so much, or you dislike it so much to the point where you're like, okay, yeah, because surgery is serious. Even though it's elective and cosmetic, I feel like it's a very serious thing, and you got to be really serious about wanting those results to take it that far. So yeah, I get what everybody is looking for. I understand that BBLs are super popular right now. But like one of the tweets that I saw last week said, I feel like the BBL is cute now, but what about when we're 70 and 80? Like, how? Like, what does that look like? I just imagine myself, and this may be another thing about me that makes me super Aquarius, but I think about myself as an 80-year-old woman, and I'm like, when I'm trying to scoot down the church pew as an 80-year-old woman, am I going to want that booty bumping into everybody? Like, everybody has to move out of the way just so I can slide in and sit down. I mean, I don't know, but those are the things I think about. I think that body is real cute right now, but I think when people are older, I think they might regret it, which is another reason why I personally couldn't get surgery. Because if it didn't turn out exactly the way I wanted it to, and if I looked like I had surgery at all, if it didn't look natural, like, I'm not going to be happy with it anyway. So, yeah, I don't know. But that's what I think. I think that body type is popular now. I think even when you see people, and this is why women have to be so careful about believing everything they see or finding inspiration in everything that they see, because you could be watching somebody working out on Instagram. She's eating all the right things. And you're like, wow, that's goals. When, maybe the backstory to all of it is that she may have had some type of surgery to assist her in getting to where she is now, which again, I think is fine. But I think people who consider themselves to be influencers, or people who share their fitness, their wellness journeys with people, I think they just need to start being honest and say, like, yeah, I look like this. I look great, but girl, I also had X, Y, and Z done. So if you're following me, just know that this is the road I took to get the body that you're looking at today. And then that way people can kind of decide, oh, okay, well, she said she worked out every day for 6 months, and now look at her. She ate really healthy, and now look at her results. She looks amazing. Or, a woman might say, yeah, girl, I had a mommy makeover. I went to Miami and had a mommy makeover, or Brazilian butt lift, or whatever the girls are calling it. I don't know if it's all the same or if those are completely different surgeries. But let's say you went and had some work done, right? By Dr. Miami, and you look great. I think you should just tell people, yes, I went and had some work done down in Miami. I'm happy with it. I look great, but and to maintain this body, I'm going to do the following things. And that just gives women the option to say, okay, well, I'm going to follow her because she puts out some fire food. But I know in my mind, the route she took to get that body might be a little bit different than the route that I would like to take. Or I want to know what doctor she went to so I can go down there and get them same results. So see, we're not mad at either approach. We just want the honesty. It's the honesty for us. So that's what I think. And I'm going to share the results of my my science project in October. But so far, I'm leaning towards a hypothesis of these girls are out here having surgery. And that's totally okay. So moving on, we are going to go ahead and close up our first ever conversation sitting at my table with our delicious cauliflower soup. We had some good girl chat about burnout and ways that we can kind of overcome it. We'll be on the lookout for those results from our waist trimmer versus surgery science project. And to close it out, I'm going to just share a couple random thoughts, things that are on my mind. You let me know if you agree with these things or if I am totally wrong and off base. And I accept either kind of response because I don't take myself too seriously about truly anything other than those children. So you cannot offend me. So let's get into these thought bubbles. I used to have so much fun doing this when I was a blogger. And now I'm going to do them, audibly. So let's go. First of all, fall is the best season. We're going to let summer finish out what she's doing, but the greatest season of all time is well on its way. And I love it. I love wearing everything all black. I love crisp fall morning air. I love the fact that you can get your hair done and the humidity is not fighting you. Give me a cute boot, cute leather jacket ensemble, and I'm a happy girl. Take these children to the pumpkin patch, let them run through a maze, pick out a couple pumpkins. Everything is better in fall. Everything except pumpkin flavored items. Pumpkin anything is pretty gross. And I know somebody is going to disagree with me on that, but y'all are taking the pumpkin thing too far. It's pumpkin flavored chapstick. It's pumpkin scented this and pumpkin flavored that. Like no one cares. The only orange anything that we will ever acknowledge is sweet potato. Sweet potato pie, delicious. Pumpkin pie, not so much. The two are not the same. Okay? They're not. I don't care what you put on it. Two are not the same. One of them is not like the other. One of them is top two and it's not number two. Sweet potato pie is literally where it's at. So sorry, pumpkin fans. I know this is y'all's time and I'm not sure why. I really wanted more from Tracee Ellis Ross's Met Gala look. Like I love Tracee Ellis Ross. I think she's so funny, so creative, so smart, so entertaining. So fashionable. I always look forward to seeing what she's wearing, and that I didn't get it. Not that I'm like the most knowledgeable fashionista, but I just kind of felt like her look fell a little flat. It wasn't what I was expecting. I wanted more of a lot of things, but that's not what she gave. So we're gonna give the good sis Tracee some grace and act like that Met Gala look just didn't happen. We're going to wipe it from her record. Chloe Bailey is the next Beyonce. She just is. The girl can sing, the girl can dance, the girl can act, which, well, we won't go there. But Chloe is like a triple threat, and I cannot wait to see what she does next. Her performance at the MTV Video Music Awards was amazing. Her video is great. Her look is fire. It's not much more great things we can say about her. She is about to take over. Sometimes I really can't believe that I have 3 kids, and I should be well aware of that by now since my oldest child is about to be 11 next week or this week. On Friday, actually. She turns 11. But when they're getting in the car after school, sometimes I'm like counting them as they get in and I'm like, wow, Tia, you got 3 whole kids. Like, who thought this was a good idea? Who thought it was? I'm doing them. I'm trying to do the best job I can with them. But sometimes I'm like, ooh, girl, you got 3 kids. That seems like a lot. I worked the book fair yesterday at the kids' school. And when I left, I only volunteered for 3.5 hours. But when I left, I was truly exhausted. First of all, they had a lockdown drill while I was there. So I got to experience what the children experienced during a lockdown drill. And to keep things safe, keep safety first. I won't explain what happens during a lockdown drill, but I got to experience, and I was literally standing there almost in tears because I felt bad for these kids. That's their reality, and that's what they have to put up with as little babies. And it also made me feel bad for the teachers because I'm like, ooh, girl, you got to explain this to them every time y'all do something. This is frightening. Like, and it's only one of you, and it's like 30 of them. So really, what can you do? The United States of America has truly failed the education system in so many ways, but getting to experience that just let me know that we got to do better. Better can be done. Actually, we're so far at the bottom of where we should be that really the only way we should be able to go as a country, as far as it relates to our children, is up. Like, we owe them so much more than what we're giving, and it's kind of disturbing. Which is why I always understand when people say they don't want kids. Yeah, girl, don't have them, because you're bringing them into this world, and this world is a mess. The LuLaRoe documentary was absolutely perfect. Now, I have LuLaRoe leggings because in my previous life, I was a military wife, which, if you know anything about being a military wife, you're going to have you some white girlfriends that are going to put you on the stuff that maybe you didn't know anything about. And this is where we insert LuLaRoe leggings. So I remember going to LuLaRoe leggings parties. LuLaRoe had dresses, shirts, all kinds of things. And me being the legging lover that I am, I picked out a few pair of their leggings. They are butter soft, like the documentary says. They were at a great price. I picked out super cute prints. So I know, the documentary had like donuts and unicorns and octopus and like all these random things on the leggings. Y'all know me. I wasn't out here wearing no crazy leggings like that. I picked out really cute Aztec prints or leggings that were black that maybe had white arrows on them. So I have like black and white, cute prints. I had no idea that LuLaRoe had gone under kind of the way that it did. I do know, I felt like at one point you used to see them online all the time. Every time I would get on Facebook, people would be having LuLaRoe legging parties, slinging those leggings all over the place. And now, you don't hear much about them. And I had never really thought much about that until watching the documentary. I'm not going to hate on the MLM business model because I, too, am a former MLM business person. I have sold Cutco knives. That was in high school. I was selling those for a minute. And when I mean a minute, it was like it might have been 2 weeks. I sold Cutco knives. It was a hot summer and it was just a no for me. But the knives is a good product, but I just couldn't do it. But if you know me in real life, you know I'm probably most famous for my stint with Mary Kay. I'm a Mary Kay dropout. I had a positive experience with selling Mary Kay. I was heavy into it. Like, I was drinking all the Kool-Aid. I was singing Pink Cadillac. I was at all the meetings. I went to the big Mary Kay convention in Dallas. I was a red jacket, which if you know anything about Mary Kay, that means you're building a team and you're like moving up. I had Mary Kay magnets on the side of my car with my phone number on them. Y'all, when I mean to tell you, I was slinging that Mary Kay, those lipsticks. I was out here getting it. I was doing parties almost every weekend. And let me tell you, the things that they say in that documentary are true. When that money starts hitting your hand and you realize how easy it was to make it and how fast you made it, you do kind of say to yourself like, oh, I should think more seriously about these parties and about inviting other people to join my team, because every time I do that, I make more money. I remember it would be Saturdays where I would throw a party. It would take me maybe 90 minutes from start to finish. And I mean, that's setup, breaking that stuff back down and putting it in my car. 90 minutes maybe to throw a party. At the end of it, maybe I would have sold, let's say, $600 worth of stuff. Mary Kay is a 50-50 split. So that means I just made $300 in 90 minutes. Sounds like a win to me. And at the time, I didn't have any kids. So that was like straight up money in my pocket that I could just, at the time we were living in DC, that I could just go to the mall and do whatever I wanted to do with it. Cause I mean, that money didn't have nobody's name on it but mine. So I get it. I get how you can get sucked in. I get the vibes that those meetings give you. Those meetings, let me tell you, if everyone could go to a Mary Kay meeting at the top of their day every day, you would feel like you could conquer the world, because those meetings build you up. They teach you a lot. But they build you up. They have you feeling like no one can stop you. You are the most incredible woman. And I think that's a good thing. But the part about it for me was always recruiting the other women. I never liked, what would they call it? Would they call it warm chatting? Or I can't remember what the official like Mary Kay term for it was. But let's say I was out at Starbucks and I saw a woman who looked stylish, or I saw a woman that could maybe benefit from learning more about the Mary Kay products or the opportunity or whatever. You were taught to walk up to that woman, not knowing her. And for somebody like me who has a little bit of social anxiety, like I don't want to talk to strangers. I do not want to do it. But you're taught to kind of walk up to people and introduce yourself. And there's a light script that you can follow to kind of help you with any ice breaking. You give that woman your business card. Hopefully you can even like plan a party right there on the spot. And that is how you build your team. It's like the more people you get in front of, the more parties you host. At the end of each party, you share the Mary Kay opportunity, and you're hoping that the numbers will work in your favor, and a small percentage of every party or a small percentage of all the women that you're in front of on any given weekend will result in at least one or two of those women joining your team. And that part for me was always a little bit, uncomfortable. So I enjoyed that documentary because I'm like, oh yeah, I can relate to this. Now, my favorite part about that documentary was the young man that talked about not being able to listen to Kelly Clarkson anymore. He said that with a dead serious tone and look on his face. He was not playing with these people. I would have enjoyed a whole episode. I could do season 2 if they do a part 2 to that documentary, and just let him kind of give his take and his opinion on everything that happened. That would be all right with me. I would sit down and I would binge watch that on a Saturday in a heartbeat. So yeah, that concludes our very first conversation at Tia's table. I hope people found this to be fun, light, enjoyable. Please share it with someone who may not know all of the goodness that we talk about every month. I'm going to continue to share my food every day on Instagram. If you have any suggestions for things that you would like to see in the newsletter or that you would like for me to discuss here, feel free to send me a DM on Instagram. That's probably the fast way to chat with me. If you are not already subscribed to our newsletter, but you happen to stumble upon this episode anyway, girl, what are you waiting for? You can have all this goodness once a month into your inbox. So get subscribed to the newsletter. It was my pleasure to sit and eat and chat with you today. If you haven't done so already, the next time you see a woman that looks like she can be uplifted, compliment that woman. Tell her her hair looks good. Tell her her outfit is cute. That color looks good on her. Because when we uplift one another, it uplifts us as a sisterhood. I hope everyone has a very, very good day. I will see you on Instagram, and I will talk to you again next month.